All right, we'll call the meeting to order. First item is public comment. Wants to comment? Okay.
No, we're just here to watch. Thanks.
All right, next is approval of September minutes.
I move we approve September minutes.
All right, and then the junior board member liaison report.
Hi, it's nice to see you all again. So I just had a couple ideas of how, again, we could spread educational content throughout the school. I understand Dr. Gallo's got his newsletter and that doing a lot with egg bag students. But I also had some ideas for how individual clubs could aid to kind of spreading education around the school. So we actually have an upcycling club at Mount Lebanon, and they are interested in doing sort of like a workshop type project, doing like turning things like t-shirts into tote bags and like just doing some minor projects with that. And in addition, I don't know how feasible this is. I think we talked about this in the September meeting where local businesses could possibly earn like a badge if they met some requirements we set. I don't know if we specifically went anywhere with that, but I thought it might be interesting if once these businesses earned this badge or showed some sort of dedication to environmental sustainability, we could almost ask them if they would permit students to come in and sort of learn from how they've changed and how environmental sustainability is like practical in the business world, kind of seeing applications and pros and like cons of switching things and how maybe they've sacrificed things to become a better business. And in addition, I mean, this might already be happening, but we have the STEM Academy at Mount Lebanon High School. And I thought it might be interesting if we asked Mrs. Meir to bring in like environmental engineers and more mentors that had, she might already be doing this, but more mentors and speakers that were primarily in those fields. Just another way of bringing education. That's about it.
Thank you, Julia. That's awesome.
I like that. I think there's definitely some potential for some of these that maybe we can tie them back in. I don't know if we're there yet on the business badge idea. I think it's great, the thing to look forward to. And I don't know much about the STEM Academy, so I don't know about that piece either, but for the upcycling club idea, is that something that you think like they would want to coordinate with ESB for that?
Yeah, for sure. The president of the club is actually the next semester's junior commissioner. So I'm sure she'd be super interested in working with ESB. And I also think it's like a really achievable plan, even short term. I think it would be a little work to coordinate, but I'm sure that it could happen, unlike some of my other ideas that would have to be further along down the road.
My thoughts on that, and we're going to kind of get into it a little bit later, particularly in the new business. I have a coordination with Levo Green, but I've been talking to them about an educational series at the library with topics maybe monthly, and then also kind of coordinating with Sustainable House series that I think is also going on. But maybe one of them could be an upcycling discussion, and we could do it there or have it be part of this. So
Yeah, and I'm sure students would love to participate in that. So that'll be a lot of fun.
good. I like that. Okay, does anybody have any other questions or comments?
No, but I really like the idea of the sustainability, and maybe that's something we think about working with the partnership on. Even just nominations for businesses in Mount Lebanon that have made, I know that there are a short list of businesses that I frequent, mostly because of their sustainability efforts. And it might be really nice to draw attention to those through a simple award or even just the nomination process. I think would be maybe a little magazine article. And that kind of gets to, I think it's great to have so much student interaction, but we also have a lot of folks that don't touch the schools in the municipality that we're trying to get information out to. I feel like the kids are pretty okay. You know, I mean, I think they have access to and are experiencing through our fantastic school district a lot of this. But I think some of our residents are still a little, you know, we have an opportunity like through those community programs you were talking about. That might be a really nice connection.
Yeah.
Julia, if you are going to email Mrs. Muir and contacting her about having speakers come in, some good ideas might be what Jennifer had to offer about other sustainable practice businesses just locally. I mean, just keeping it right here in Mount Lebanon. There's one who's doing composting and she runs a composting business. There's others that come to mind. So when you email her, she might have her own resources and ideas, but ask her if she'd like for you to add some of those to what we all can think of here. If she wants you to tap into ESB as a resource for finding names of potential speakers or businesses that have good sustainable practice. Okay, yeah, and you can let us know.
Sounds good.
Let me know if you need any help with that. Like approaching Mrs. Muir or asking her what kind of speakers is she interested in getting, but are you involved with the environmental club?
I wouldn't say I'm super involved. I know Mrs. Wilcox really well, so I'm like adjacent to the club. I don't really know what they've been working on lately, but I could definitely look more into what they're doing.
Okay, I was just curious to see maybe she can work closely with the environmental club to have a wide range of ideas like lead architects or environmental engineers. I know in the past she's had speakers and they've been in the medical field, or a physicist came in last year, but I don't remember any environmental.
We could probably help with those contacts. Most of us spent the last 2 years building the climate action plan and working with a lot of those folks. So we have those contacts and could easily connect you with Connect and other, you know, organizations that would have those.
Yeah.
But I think, at least from my point of view, we're kind of merging into a bigger board with multi things. And having spent so much time working on that climate action plan, I think from my interest, I'm looking at the very few months we have remaining and seeing what we can get done, you know, on that plan. That was the kind of the mandate.
Thanks for that. I'll definitely appreciate those contacts. I know she's out sick tomorrow. I'm a student of hers. So I'll get in contact with her on Monday and I'll ask. Because she might already have a few, and if she already has a few on her list or something, I could ask her if she'd be interested in bringing those in or the options that we have.
Sounds good, thank you. All right, school board report.
Sure. Okay, so I wanted to review or point you in the direction of the October 9th meeting that we had last month, where there was a presentation entirely dedicated to sustainability. It was the sustainability report for the district. And that was discussed by Mr. Galetko, who's our business manager, and Mr. Marciniak, and also Mr. Kaiser, and they are in facilities. And so, as you know, we have like a mission statement in terms of our sustainability, but we also have several action items underneath that statement. And one of them is to have renewable energy certificates as part of our energy supply to the school district. And so the district passed a motion to, I'm just gonna read what we did because it's better than summarizing it. So we are rejoining the AIU Energy Consortium, which gives everybody a better price for electricity supply. And the selected vendor is Direct Energy. And that consortium is offering a competitive rate of 3.746 per kilowatt hour, which is a considerable savings. We've been up at 11% per kilowatt hour. We've been at 5. We're now down at below 4. And additionally, and excitingly, this pricing includes the purchase of 100% National Green E-Wind Turbine Renewable Energy Certificates. Those are called RECs, but they offset the carbon footprint associated with our consumption. So the pricing, it might change slightly based on the timing of that, but not enormously. And so we approved that agreement, and that goes for a 25-month period. So we're into 2027 with that rate locked in.
National Wind
And all wind energy is
for the
fantastic
district.
for the
wide.
district's energy
That's
consumption.
excellent.
So that's a big exciting thing. We were really pleased to see that happen. Both Mr. Galetko and Mr. Marciniak have been to continuing education and training opportunities for advancing our sustainability efforts in the last few months. I'm remembering from a month ago with my notes here. Yeah, so that's it. Well, I have all the prices down here. We were at 4.9 cents per kilowatt hour before, now we're at 3.7. So that every time we do that, obviously a big savings to the district. So that's helpful. Plus, those are good green initiatives. Then they listed through several of the initiatives that have taken place that have a big check mark next to them, because this was a once a year sustainability review. They talked about our stadium turf has been recycled, 68,700 square feet of it. Every school has a garden, every elementary school has a garden with student participation. We have 32 water bottle fillers, which I sent that to the ESB email too, because Randy was asking about water bottle fillers in the district. We have 32 of them. They're pretty well spread out. There's 3 or 4 at every school. Often those are purchased by the PTA. So that's another funding source, but it is good that we have those. I don't think we have them at the outdoor fields, with the exception of the high school stadium, but I don't think we have them at the rock pile or Mellon or Jefferson's turf. But I think plumbing is probably part of that. So we might have to look into that. 216 trees planted since 2016. Their next initiatives are adding a bike rack. And they average 6.11 tons per month. That's per month of recycled materials from the district wide, which I thought was really substantial. And they use green cleaning products only in our school district. Those were the notes I took. That's a flyover. It was a much more in-depth discussion, and it's posted on the website. And October, did I say 9th is the date from the discussion meeting. So if you've been watching for a while, typically there's a discussion meeting where a lot of info is shared, and there's a keynote speaker, there's a certain presentation every month. And October was sustainability. And then we vote the next one. So those are pretty dry meetings where we just run through the motions and we vote, but the ones that are more fun to tune into are the ones where there's discussion content. Other school district news. We had an election, we all know that. We are quickly onboarding 3 new people, and 3 people are continuing and 3 people are renewed. So now we back up at our, we're excited about going forward. Quick onboarding and a reorganization meeting in terms of we'll have a new president, vice president structure. And that's rolling right around at the December 4th meeting. Probably tuning in on Monday for at least two significant district initiatives being accomplished. So can't say more about those. Questions?
So that's excellent that you're using renewable energy credits as opposed to offsets. I think if the municipality were to, does the municipality do any recs or anything for our electrical?
Well, it's interesting that you just mentioned that because I just wrote it down. Library solar panels, I think in October received an $800 rebate. So there's a start right there. We've been looking at some other solar developers to kind of take a look at some facilities here. But yeah, we're moving forward with some renewables, so.
But I just,
I think there was interest from the school district at one time, particularly around the
Solar.
funding. There's the solar to schools movement and the money that's available, but I know that's a big capital thing too. It takes a lot of planning. But
It is. It's been
there's a
discussed
lot of
that
support around there for it.
as we replace roofs over a course of time, that's when we consider solar to be added.
Because there are grants up there.
But there are solar panels on the roof of the athletic complex currently. And there's a solar flower. And I didn't write down the exact savings that it's small, but sometimes small is good for educational purposes because they can track that just identifiable quantity of savings just to their school. So I think there is a lot of value to even having a small savings coming out of a solar sunflower. Be cool to see more of those. I think they're like 40 grand. So I think they're not probably at the top of our capital list, but they do offer an offset of savings to the district too.
I was gonna say the recs over offsets, which is the other way that a lot of people handle mitigating their equivalent CO2. The recs are actual removal of would-be emissions, whereas the offsets, it's every other week you hear about, this methodology is completely flawed and, but as far as actual greenhouse gases go, have you done has the district done, or have any schools done a greenhouse gas inventory?
I don't believe so. But I will ask that question.
It might be an interesting, well, it might be an interesting thing to do as an organization, but it also might be an interesting educational exercise because it's not really that complicated. But there are distinct aspects of it, how they're organized. That it's an actual marketable skill now, so that's something that could be an option.
And
I guess I'm looking at
That's
both of you.
Yeah, and I'm looking at my.
if you are in fact a member of the 2030
Yeah.
district, which supposedly you are, when we get to the ESP's topic on energy benchmarking, that's kind of, there is a partnership there available to help with that actual energy benchmarking, either for getting training from the Green Building Alliance or for actually having Green Building Alliance staff doing it for us. So energy benchmarking and greenhouse gas inventory are kind of
It's all part of,
comparable terms. You're really trying to figure out how much energy you're using, which is equivalent to how much greenhouse gas you're emitting.
so May was the month that Dr. Steinhauer and Mr. Galetko went to a conference, and so it's possible that that's a
They might have
yes.
signed up or something.
Yes, and if I had my act together and wasn't driving straight from an ice rink in the north, I would know, I would have my computer or phone and be able to look that up, but I have to get back to you on this thing.
We do the evaluation of greenhouse gases. I mean, just one or two segments of the school. For example, I look at the hallways that are never used, or the sky bridge that is so sunny and bright, but the lights are always on, and we question why do those have to be on? And you open your mouth, you learn, and the reason why they have to be on is because they're fire egress routes. So we asked, okay, if they have to be on, then can you change them to LED? And when they built the new school, they didn't include the proper ballasts to accommodate LED bulbs, I believe, not on every single outlet, but, and don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that. So my students and I did the math, and just 344 bulbs, because we went around and counted. By changing those out to LED, that would save the district $12,000, and the payback period is roughly 0.6 years, 6 years. So, and then we evaluated that would save the district 45,000 pounds of coal and 104,000 pounds of CO2 in the course of those bulbs. Actually, that's annual. So we do look at that. Just my class, and just hey, are you interested in this? And we floated the idea by, and the upfront cost of these bulbs, and changed the ballast for too much. So then they said, why don't your students write grants? And then COVID hit. And then we didn't really pick that project back up, because we met with Rich, we met with some of the HVAC people and the principal at the time, and they really liked it. As soon as I told them that they would save $12,000 for the course of the bulb, they were on it like that.
They are still on this real drive to switch out light bulbs.
Good.
Particularly in the gyms,
Yeah.
but there is a sustainability website, on our website, there's a sustainability tab. Now, the website in the near to 1 to 2 year future is going to get a complete overhaul, which is going really good news. But currently, there's a tab for sustainability, and it will show you, I think I brought this up maybe last 2 months, the last meeting that I attended, but which light bulbs, which schools, and how much has been saved.
Yeah.
Which is good. And
It's enormous, the amount of money they spend on lighting.
It is. I'm happy to see all of these initiatives. They're not even in their infancy, it's progress, so it's good. I guess the other comment about the board reorganization that's happening in December is that you might get a new school director in these meetings. I don't know. They shuffle us all around, so I hope to stay with you all, but you'll meet somebody new if not.
I think we'll save the commission business to see if Mindy stops by, so we'll earmark that for later.
Next is the ESB business. It's gonna actually just for a minute talk about the board transition plan before we go into the topics, because I think that could guide it a little bit, but I sent out the draft transition plan that Greg started, and
By the way, it looks
it
great.
too.
Looks great. I'm loving it right now. There's a lot of information in there, which is really helpful, so.
Yeah, and I just wanted to touch on that, as we move through the topic or the work plan updates, just as a reminder that hoping that transition plan is, really can keep the momentum going, because I think we do have some good momentum on a lot of these things, and I thought adding actionable next steps would really be helpful with that, because I do think then it'll guide whoever's on the board into the future with some things that they can immediately jump on, because they're right there for them. So I don't know, we can loop back to the transition plan after we go through the updates, unless anybody has any questions or comments on it now.
I think it's really nice that we kind of had those updates, because like, I know Tim kind of contributed to it, so it's like, I feel like everyone's kind of updated and up to date on most of that stuff, which is good. It's good that it's that have that kind of inventory of knowledge that we have on certain projects, so. But
Yeah, it's good to have continuity, like when you transition, you don't just like lose everything that you've all.
the dialogue will continue. That's pretty much the goal is to, have the next board members just kind of read that document, any questions they have, and just answer them and then get them rolling. So that's the eventual plan, but.
As far as the work plan, Deb's not here, right? Does any, I know, if anybody else has an update on the air quality? topic?
Cold air is moving in.
Were there students that were gonna be involved in that?
We talked about that in one of the meetings, partnering with maybe the environmental club or students to work on a dashboard, but I don't know that we've gotten beyond that.
I think it was just an idea lobbed out
And
there.
over there.
Feel free to jump in.
So I have some friends that run the coding club, and they mentioned that they would be interested in doing it as like a project to set up that dashboard if you still want students to do that. I didn't have all the details at the time when I was presenting this idea to them. So if you have specifics on like what you'd like them to do, I can kind of present it as a more I was just like, "Hey, would you guys be interested in this?" And they were like, "Yeah, but like we don't know what you're actually kind of talking about." So, if you wouldn't mind just outlining that for me and I can present that to them, and if I know they do some events themselves, so they might be busy with that, but I can still present it as an idea.
How much analysis do we expect is gonna be required before because it's one thing to display the data, but there's some statistical analysis, basic. That would probably wanna go into that too, depending on, and I think we need to set the parameters for what data points we are looking at, because I think it's on a 24-hour rolling.
Yep.
Um,
I agree. I'd be interested in hearing Deb's input on that. 'Cause
Yeah.
I just thought about it. Yeah. We can follow up with Deb on that and maybe talk about it a little bit more in the next meeting.
If she's also looking for someone to help out with some of the. Not doing the programming, but advising on the programming.
But I think, Julia, the basic part of it is that we have these purple air monitors and we have them all around the district. I think there's 7. Are there 7 or so? There are at least 7 of them.
School, and then there's more throughout the
Uptown too.
I think if like, there's one at the park, which is reasonably close to a school, then I don't know that I don't think they're at every single school. I'm not
Not
sure,
every.
because there's one at the park. We have
I
to
mean, we
look
can
and see.
see, but
Anyway, there's these purple air monitors. They monitor the air and spit out a lot of numbers. It's a number crunching exercise. And it's also like a comparative exercise to see, you'd be handling a bunch of numbers and you would be looking for trends and looking for better air, worse air, time trends. Your teachers would be directing some of the inquiry that what you would get out of that data. But the monitors are there. People are crunching the numbers.
I mean, we can download the data pretty
Yeah.
easily at any given point. I don't remember how long the archive continues.
You can get it all the way back. It's just that you have to use an API instead of the.
And then it's
download.
published.
I mean, you can see it in real time. You can set your parameters on how long you can look back, and it's just all out there on the kind of public domain. It's not even behind any type of dashboard or anything.
Looks like this.
Yeah. So you would just pop it into Excel or something else that you would.
So
use.
creating a dashboard
right.
out of the data that exists. Making the data more accessible to people to learn from it.
And how often would we want this updated? Like, is this more of like a long-term project that we'd want? Like, are we looking to create a program that would, I don't know if this is possible, but once downloading the data, it would automatically, update this dashboard. So then the data only needs to be downloaded, every so often. Depends on, I just don't know specifically what we're looking for. Maybe that's something I have to ask the coding club, like, what are you guys actually able to do with this information? But is there anything you all would specifically like to see with this dashboard other than it being like available to the public and etc.?
I know with some talks around the office, someone came up with kind of a simplified idea of referencing charts of what healthy areas, what, not, I should say unhealthy areas, and just kind of referencing those numbers, because purple air has that dashboard, so to speak, kind of available. And it's just be something that the residents just kind of read to say, you know, something may get up into, you know, the number 100. It's like, was that good? Is that bad? You know, 100's relative, because it could be 0 to 1,000 or 0 to 100, where, you know. But someone came up with that, they pitched the idea of just a reference table that we can link people to, or, you know, if they go on to our sustainability tab on the municipality and they see the purple arrow and they say, what do these numbers mean? And then we can reference them to a table that says, this number is relatively high, may cause, you know, these certain effects, and it would all be, you know, cited data either by the EPA or the Allegheny Health Department, so.
Now.gov.
I don't know, like, I mean,
This is.
you click on any of the monitors.
There.
Right, I mean, even on just Purple Air's website, if you click on any of the monitors, like this is Foster School right there.
Yeah.
And it's got, you know, you can zoom out, you can show over a week, you can show over just a couple of days. And it's got, doesn't have as many lines of like, but it's got the kind of red line, like over 100 is bad. Between 50 and 100 is fine.
And that David's chart that he showed just basically explains what that does, so. it's like-
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what we can do.
I just am trying to think, is this like, if this is something that somebody has to like take off of there and then manually put into the system, it's not gonna get followed up on. And like, as soon as that person leaves the school, nobody's gonna pick it up and people are gonna forget about it. Like, if there's a way to just have it directly attached to Purple Air's
So
website.
that's what I was talking about. I'm happy to go over how to code it so that it pulls directly.
Right, if it's, that's what I mean, is like, it would be better if it could
Yeah,
just be
they-
coded to pull directly from the website. As
Yeah,
opposed to having to have somebody take it off. And do it.
They have documentation for that. And the only thing I would kind of remind you is it only is a particulate matter PM 2.5 measurement. So we are going to be missing the rest of the data. Now, to that point, the health department has monitors not here, but nearby. That could give us kind of other components of the picture. So I would actually specifically, Julia, your question, what are we looking for? I think what the most useful thing would be some sort of data aggregator. And actually not doing any statistics because it comes out already in Air Quality Index, which is already rescaled to a normalized scale. But a data aggregator that will host the Purple Air data, but also along with it, perhaps the weather, precipitation, especially when it comes to particulate matter. Precipitation reduces particulate matter significantly. And then also the county health department issues inversion layer ratings and forecasts. So I'm not sure if there's a way to pull that automatically, but that would be, those would be kind of three.
Just so you know, when the
Four.
ESP started down the air quality route, we wanted to go with the county and basically ask them to put one here in the South Hills somewhere, and the cost for that was like ridiculously, it's like $100,000
Oh
or
yeah, the
something.
cost for like to go with anything beyond just the like certain size particulate.
Yeah, I know, it was crazy, yeah.
No, but it's a shame it doesn't exist here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To our west, southwest New York.
I would think too that like having something like a smell.gov or like the smell.com like that. Because you're getting, that's where you get a lot of like just general feelings of air quality too in the area. And you can get senses of some stuff that you're not necessarily picking up on the sensors.
Yeah, we can provide her with this feedback on what we talked about here and see what she has. Okay, next is the plastic reduction. We'll have to take out bag for the next.
I was just gonna say, we renamed it.
Yeah.
It is not,
Right.
no longer plastic bag reduction. It's, I guess, plastic use reduction or just
Right.
plastic reduction in general.
Plastic reduction, I think, yeah, so, you know, Mindy sent out an email, she and Greg and I met to talk about some ideas, and I also had added in information that I had in mind into the transition plan too, for where I think we could go with this. And the main, kind of, in my mind, two main parts are the education, and getting the word out there on the benefits of plastic reduction, how people can do it. And then introduce a resolution to the commission, hopefully, which basically just kind of sets our goals or targets to make an overall municipal reduction in that area. My thought is do that for a year, see where we are, and then possibly move into an ordinance. Unless Allegheny County adopts it for us, and then we'll be on board because we have to be. But regardless, the education piece, I think, would still be helpful, even if that happened, because it would probably be a somewhat abrupt change for a lot of people. So as far as the education piece of it, I mentioned that I had been talking to Lebo Green. I've had a couple meetings with Shayna to talk about some educational, and I think that would be geared towards kind of maybe more of like an adult education. We also talked about, she's also involved with the PTA council. So we talked about possibly trying to get a school program, like a seminar, like maybe an elementary one, middle school, high school, you know, for the right age levels, and bring it into the schools as well, as a way to get the message out as well. So those are just some kind of beginning ideas we have on the education piece. And then obviously Mindy brought up the water refillers too. I think that's probably like a, let's work on it, see feasibility of it, the cost, where we can put them in, if it's possible, and then get that installed as well. Beyond that, I haven't come up with too many other real initiatives for like how to kind of make it happen, other than educating the public on how they can do it themselves. We did talk about like, you know, incentivizing businesses or handing out reusable bags, maybe even getting some local businesses to sponsor the bags, so we can get them made with their, you know, some advertisements on it, but then they'd be hopefully free to hand out. So I think there's a lot of good ideas on kind of what we can do, but that's the update for now. I'm hoping that Lebo Green is very on board with this, like monthly educational ideas. In fact, they recommended the first one be recycling and composting, so I wanted to talk to you about that, to be as close in line with the new contract. But then I was thinking maybe plastic reduction could be the second piece of that, you know, so early next year we would have that. And then work on the school piece as well.
Is the library on board?
Yeah, they are, but not until January. They said they couldn't handle a December seminar, which I think is fine, because I don't know if we'd be ready anyway, but starting in January, they are.
Do we know who's going to publish the student articles? I remember that was a big question mark then. Can it be Lebo Green?
They can, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, the reach is kind of. I didn't know.
Yes.
Too. Yeah.
Kind of just, I guess, dip into Mike's time. We've been kind of brainstorming some ideas on how to kind of extract that information to put it in, because I know Laura has been emailing. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of emails regarding to different ESB topics, and I know Laura, I think, emailed, I think it was Mindy, Mike, and myself. She was talking about how, you know, we can add it as a newsletter, because we aren't gonna kind of label it as the ESB newsletter, because then it would be other advisory boards, but we've had a past, I can't remember when the last one was. It was an issue of sense and sustainability, which was more of just a community-wide topic, and that's something that we can include. I think that's what we're gonna kind of look for. But I know moving forward with some of the stuff, I know we also received 2 more of the newsletters, so we're gonna see what we can do, get those in those in the paper, I should say the magazine, so.
And Shayna also mentioned that maybe they could be distributed with PTA newsletters. That would be maybe a bit more of a wider audience too. I don't know if that's of interest. Because now I think there's just the district. Is it just a district-wide email, right? that has
There's
links
one a
each?
week, and then each school has a link button, and they're also archived, so you can go back and see ones that you've missed without hunting your email box. It's all on that particular sent message. Every Sunday has all of the backloaded.
Problem with that is you only get that if you're a parent, right?
You can be added. You just have to.
But we're interested in municipal wide reach.
Right.
And so that's why having a municipality, whether it's a Mount Lebanon, Mount Lebanon school or PTA publication that you're linking to. But I think it's important that it come out as municipal, through those channels to people that want emails, or that it's accessible somewhere from the website, so it isn't just limited to, families that have kids in school.
And then the PTA is even smaller than just the
That's
network
right,
of
yeah.
families who have kids in schools, then you have the PTA being a smaller subset of that.
What, you probably have mentioned this, Greg, before, but what are the rules of like Levo alerts? Could there be a Levo alert that links to the PTA? No, okay. That has the newsletter on it? No,
But maybe
okay.
that part of what is the 710 or something like that, it's the.
Yeah, that one,
Oh, yeah, that.
I've only heard stories about that. I've actually never seen it.
Usually shows up in
Was it?
What is it?
I guess
my
I
inbox. You've probably unsubscribed.
It's another.
I don't think I've ever subscribed to it. I don't think
Seven
it-
ten.
Yeah, it was,
I don't have that
I
one.
think it's, the 710 or something like that, but yeah, that's, again, absolutely.
That was pretty great about.
We have these great articles from these kids.
Absolutely.
I think the next logical step is really to commit to finding how to put that out there and what form, who's gonna publish it. Cause it sounds like there's a lot of twisting and turning around.
Plastic or.
The other one that was just written for this month was eliminating plastic use. So that fit in with,
Then Julia, didn't you write that? I thought she wrote that. No, maybe not.
that was Lily Hackworth.
Lily wrote
Yeah.
and,
Okay.
yeah. Well, we've got a lot of great student authorship going on, and I think that it is, it's motivating to be published.
I would
Love to see that happen.
to, I mentioned, these like library programs, that it's more of an adult content, but if do you think students would come and like, if Lily would present a little piece of the plastic reduction one and bring some friends, like,
Oh,
it'd
yeah.
be great if we could even get a wider audience.
Actually, that's another really good point. The library's reach is another, so just advertising the event with that resource is another way to get it out to the community. So a lot of people sign up for their applications.
I think it's pretty powerful coming from students too, like, I mean, some adults might not wanna listen to a student, but to have us, like, when you hear like a Greta Thunberg type person present at like the UN, it's amazing, and like my daughter, who's 10, that's like her role model, like that is her, like she wants to be her. Because it's a kid doing it, so I think it's a cool idea to have those announcements, the things, I mean, they're the people that are gonna be affected by climate change the most, so.
Yeah, if we could find a way to kind of partner like that for all of them. Yeah, the initial ideas we had were to have like 1 month for each of these work plan topics, and then the cap, if unless they align with them already, but and then the cap topics too. But if each of them could have, maybe we have a more professional speaker paired with a student, and they each give a little talk at each one, I think that could be really good. And Levo Green's fully on board with helping too, to like organize, speakers, get word out and help facilitate the events too. Right now.
All right, recycling and composting. So Greg and I corresponded a little bit this last week about the recycling piece. The tour that I did not get to go on of the recycling facility was actually last summer, while prior to the selection of the new contractor. right? And so that was the sorting facility and the newly upgraded equipment for the current hauler. The new contract is all of the recycling will go to a different facility in Hazelwood. So I did a little looking around, looking at that. I couldn't find anything that kind of matched up as far as, their equipment or, any. I don't know if we want to schedule a second tour that kind of matches with our current contract that's beginning. But I do, so a couple parts of that. I mean, is the board interested in seeing a second site? Yeah, David's, yeah, I think I would be interested too. All right, let's go look at some sorting. I tried to do as much recognizance as I could online and it was a little limited.
Yeah, we've already been in contact with the new waste hauler, so I'm assuming we could probably get in contact with the recycling facilities. We can then schedule another tour, so.
Okay. All right, so let's plan on a tour. The second piece of that is, I'm sure you all saw the municipality put out a lot of information about the new contract and what will be happening in 2024. People overwhelmingly, at least on social media, seem pretty happy to have glass back. There were a couple parts in that I reached out to Greg or responded to the group, and Laura and I had some interaction back and forth. There was a little bit of a tone to that kind of struck me as far as what plastics aren't recyclable, just put them in your regular trash. And that's a little bit of a misnomer. I mean, we need to be really clear with residents that if they're putting out 5s with their 1s and 2s, they're contaminating the load, and we don't want that. So if you're not going to make an effort to recycle 3 through 7, then it does need to go in your trash. But my point was there are ways to improve the loads of what they are able to recycle. And there are alternatives for my stack of yogurt containers and my takeout from my favorite Chinese place that I just haven't broken up with yet. So I committed to starting a draft of alternatives or kind of threw in batteries. I guess at one time the ESB used to keep an updated list of what people could do to get rid of a number of difficult things to recycle that weren't, mainstream curbside. So I'm working with Michael Brothers and a few others to find out exactly what they'll take. I think one of those things was plastic film, which I hated to see us say, there's no market for it. Don't recycle it, put it in your trash. I know the high school right now has a pretty big effort on film. At least there are some 10th grade teachers, I believe, or some of the science teachers that have a competition over how much plastic film they can each collect and recycle. There is still, albeit not fantastic, a market for that. And if we can help people keep that out of the trash stream, out of a landfill, I think we should make the effort for people that are willing to drive to, a drop-off site. So I'm in the process of starting a draft and we'll work with Levo Green as well, because I know they have a lot of those. But to kind of, here's what you can do at the curb. I do think we still may want to, based on what the recycling center tells us. I think there are people out there that will still take their glass to PRC or to Michael Brothers. So I don't know, but it's all going back in the one bin, single stream come January, so that's it.
But you're right, though, there was a point somewhere on the website, like in the garbage and recycling section, that used to say like, here are options for battery recycling, or here are options for like all of the different things that weren't included, so it'd be good to get that back.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start a draft with how to do those things. I'll probably just start with a document and send out the link that anybody can add things if you know. And I'll work with Levo Green too, because I know that they've had interest in that. I will also reach out to PRC. I'm very curious. All the municipalities around here, I believe, have elected different haulers, but have elected to add glass back. So will they maintain the recycling drop-offs at South Hills Village? I don't know. I would hope so. Especially since it's right there near the state store. But So I'll try to find
I
that.
have said this, but what's the plan for how to communicate that?
So the plan would be on the website. And then I've also committed to, even though I won't be on the ESB, at least if somebody from the new sustainability board, what's the correct term?
Resilience.
Resiliency board, if somebody volunteers to keep that thing updated twice a year, great. But Laura's point was nobody was updating it. It got outdated. Somebody in the community made a trip somewhere to take something and was mad. And so it was, so, you know, I personally will make sure it's updated twice a year, even. Once it's done, it's not that hard to make sure it's still active. So, all right, so that's recycling. Composting. I haven't really done anything in addition to municipal size or industrial size composting. Is something that I think we should look at as a municipality, but it definitely has its challenges. So.
That's still on the district's wish list and not moving off of the wish list at this point, but it's on there. Keep it
Industrial.
on there. Or even starting small with high school students composting.
Food waste. From the cafeteria, yeah. Which it had
But all of
existed.
our silverware is compostable material. That's a new thing too. Wrapped in plastic, which is trash.
So to your point, that would just be a spot on the website that would have those things, maybe when we have it finalized, you know, in the next few weeks. We can put out something to the municipality to say, you know, this is available to you in addition to the new, you know, as we're educating about the new trash contract, that could tie into it as well.
I was wondering too, when we went on that tour, my takeaway, one of the takeaways was how, you know, things have gotten better. There was at one time like some sort of communication, like don't put your pizza boxes in because, you know, there's grease on them and it'll just contaminate everything. Well, then that day when we took the tour, they were like, oh no, that's fine. Take that wax paper out, but it's fine. We can handle it now. I feel
Well,
like there's,
specifically, there's a market here.
yeah,
So that's not
right. I agree. It was like a.
global.
And that was another good point. It's very local, you know, you can't, like what worked for that facility might not work at a different facility.
And the information that came out was pretty clear about just the top of its box, I think. is-
Yeah, that's what it said.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, I guess just like good tips like that would be so helpful. And I was thinking even beyond just putting it on the website, it like we deliver a one pager to each house. It just says this is
Not
what
on
you can and
paper.
can't do. You know, I hate that, but I also know there's like my neighbors, I guess I'm the resource for what to do and they all reach out to me and I'm like, there is a website that they're always like, what day is recycling? I'm like, you can go to the website, but I mean, some people just don't look at the website, so. But I think if they got a piece of paper in their door, they might be like, oh, I can do this.
On their recyclable bag, right?
They can, or a magnet they can put on their fridge. I don't know, something to guide people.
For any changes like that, though, it's like. It's so habitual how you handle your waste and recycling that even when we got rid of plastics 3 through 7, like years ago, it was still like, I still had to do audits in my office monthly to be like, this is a plastic bag. It doesn't go in here.
I have
This
neighbors
is a
that
number 3 milk
will-
jug container, or, you know, some type of bottle, doesn't go in here. Like, this is the yogurt container. I think for some of the stuff like the pizza boxes and stuff, like. If they probably don't even know yet that the pizza box was ever not allowed in the recycling, if they're having a hard time, it's just. I think education is very slow when it comes to that.
That
So-
might be a great place that we could work with some students to make a quick 2-minute informational video. You know, just post it on YouTube or something, that this is how you recycle right. I have a neighbor that no matter how many times I tell them not to put all of their recyclables in little giant eagle blue plastic bags and tie them up, like that's just not gonna work. It's been 2 years. So that might be an opportunity for education, but
Extra credit in your class, and just publish it.
You think a video would be nice, like just very easily quick, like. It can be funny, it can be fun, like it just have a student take a trash bag. And like open it up and just be like, or a recycling bag or bin and just say like. This isn't, and why, and then.
Yeah.
Because that's.
so
that's
Vivo
what I-
Green does a nice job at Earth Day of a sorting game where they just throw tons of trash.
Yeah.
And it's like for little kids and they have, like a recyclable bin, a trash bin, something else. And the challenge is you resort, your trash and they tell you if you were right or not. And I don't know which way. But that might be something that when we do a library program that we want to demonstrate or have people play along or trash bingo or something. I don't know. But yeah,
And then encourage them to all go out and tell their neighbors and audit their neighbors' garbage.
that's all I have.
I think the biggest hurdle that I'm facing right now is how to publish this. And it's pretty frustrating because I just don't know. I'm sort of a standstill in a way, getting this out. Two things. I feel like it'd be great just to be on Levo Green, but when I'm preaching to the wrong audience,
That's a
like
really good.
those people who go there, who are interested in going there to read that content are the people who I feel like don't really need the outreach. So originally, these newsletters or mention of the newsletters where they would be was gonna be published in the Levo magazine. And then we told that was not the case anymore. So I saw Kelsey just at the beginning of October, hey, guess what? It's gonna be published in Levo magazine. She was all excited. And now I don't know what to tell her or what to tell Lily. I have a student who engineered a gray water system in her bathroom and rerouted her plumbing and pumped it in the tank of her toilet that she's writing a newsletter on. I have another student that is writing a newsletter on how she changed her diet for a project. And then the fifth one is writing a newsletter about how to upcycle, she crocheted plastic bags into like tote bags, hats, coasters. And so I have great content with these 5 students. Now it's just, how do we get this out? And it's frustrating. I mean, I've been really busy, so maybe I haven't been putting a whole bunch of time trying to figure this out, but every time well, how about this? Well, we can't do that. How about this? Well, and there's an issue with copyright. So Laura's most recent email was that once the new boards are seated in April, the resiliency board will have an opportunity to create material for column twice a year. So I don't know if this is gonna be standing in purgatory until April with all this great content and not knowing what to do with it. And that's where I am right now.
I thought we were told about a year ago that we would be able to utilize space on the website to publish and house things like this. And we were waiting for the municipal website update. Is that,
Well, she said, we're not able to print the newsletters in the magazine, nor can we place them on the website. I don't know.
What about like social media wise? Do we have any access to groups that run Facebook accounts? Or I feel like Facebook's the correct platform if we're trying to reach a certain type of audience. Do we have any access to any groups that will be willing to post these that could go to a wider audience? Are we capable of posting a link or something?
That's the case, are we allowed to advertise it as the Environmental Sustainability Board newsletters? Like, is there a problem with the community with that? I don't know the rules. Yeah, can I just delete that part of the newsletter, that heading, and then,
environmental sustainability? Or student column or something like that, like I think that's.
The only difficulty with that is when we have a ESB newsletter broadcasted and published by the municipality, each other advisory board will most likely need to have one as well. If they don't put anything into it, that's on their own accord.
So that's the problem, is that the holdup, is like, we have an idea and we'd like to put it out, but we can't because that would make everybody else have to come up with ideas. that stinks.
To a point, yes, so.
To be also historical, we've had publications in the magazine before. We used to publish sustainability tips every month.
That was a sense of sustainability that Laura mentioned, so.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm trying to get moving forward with, that sense of stability or sense of sustainability, because it's not coined as an ESB topic, it's just it's a general sense of sustainability topic. That's where I think we can really go forward and I've only really, I think that was sometime last month I found out about that one, because we've been kind of pushing forward to see what we can do, but
How was that distributed?
that was in the magazine.
The
So what is the hang up with the magazine?
I'm sure it's print. I would imagine it's print space for a student.
I don't know if she really gave a reason. We are not able to print the newsletters in the magazine, because originally she thought that they would be able to. And I don't know, maybe I miss something in an email as to why that's the case, but bottom line is they can't do that.
The other one, it's called In Mountain. We put it in there. It goes to everybody, right?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Who's in charge over there?
I don't know.
That's every community.
So I think it's also logical to publish it through the school district, but and that's probably the easiest way, but that's also, like we said earlier, that achieves families with
But if we
children.
publish it through the school district. And then on social media, through other channels, if the municipality and Levo Green and whomever else is interested. Wants to kind of either embed that in something that they're doing. Or, share it again through social media channels, I think that would help with the reach.
I agree.
And the municipality does. share.
Julia, do you know who runs the sustainability part of the website? Who's in charge of posting? Do you know? Like-
Kristen James.
Okay. Yeah. So I could reach out to her and see if
You
there could be.
can, I can facilitate a meeting, I can come to school and students can meet with her. There's a real open door. Bring in the ideas via in-person student meetings.
Oh, yeah.
There's that vibe going on now, which is great.
Personally, if we can't have a page in the magazine that's sent to residents anyways. I like the idea of electronic. I think the reach, I don't know, I think more kids will read it that way maybe than in paper, but.
Less hypocritical.
I mean, as far as social media, I hear you about Facebook. I think that point is well made, but I also think the district uses Twitter a lot. So X, formerly known as Twitter. Yeah, social media is a very good idea. Obviously, that's where people are looking.
And these could be tied into a library program.
I was just thinking, and I know like none of these maybe are perfect, but what if we did all of them in the same time frame?
Mhm.
And then it was the same month that we also had that student present at the library. So it'd be like in the library's advertisement, on PTA newsletter and Levo Green.
We can pick them up then. for the library.
And like we would somehow coordinate that the first week of, the month, all of those things blast out the newsletter, and then we also do the presentation and.
Yeah.
It's not one comprehensive blast or like communication, but I think it all put together maybe.
And your first topic you were thinking was recycling. Okay. I didn't know if composting was a feature.
So very practically speaking, who is going to reach out to Kristen James about publishing through the school district? I'm happy to, you can, a student can, you want to. Okay. I'll see her Monday and I might just
Yeah.
talk to her about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the topic of the first newsletter?
Kelsey repurposed glass into some neat things. and just solid waste reduction in general.
I'm wondering if that, like, could that be tied in with the January presentation of
I think
recycling?
so.
I'll reach out to Kelsey.
We have her, have it, that newsletter ready to go. That could be great to do that as the first one.
That pairs well with the crocheted plastic bags, though, that's repurposed and
Yeah, I could reach out to Kendall, who's the student who's writing that newsletter. She's overwhelmed with, college applications. She said she's gonna try to work on it over holiday break. So,
She
that
could
was the-
also be the February, like plastic reduction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Reuse plastic in other ways too.
Yeah,
If we want to
that would-
Space them apart, you know,
Yeah.
have one at each.
Well, we wanna see it happen. That's what I'm hearing.
definitely. That's all I got.
Any updates?
So, yeah, I met with, Rudy and, Rudy is in Public Works and Dan is with Gateway. I met with them, and found out that there is a stormwater ordinance. Not the stormwater fee ordinance, there are two ordinances. And actually, this is just maybe a little nitpicky. Stormwater fee ordinance isn't in the ordinances. Like, doesn't exist. I downloaded the entire thing and there's no stormwater fee ordinance in it. It exists, clearly, you can find it. Weirdly, you can't find the stormwater management ordinance unless you go into the ordinances. The as amended compendium. Anyway, I'm still working through that. It does offer quite a bit of a framework, though, for thinking about some of the issues that for me motivated this. I also learned a little bit about the stormwater fee credit manual, which was outsourced by the folks that we outsourced it to, we being the municipality. So they aren't 100% sure why some of those decisions were actually made. Once I pressed a little harder, then no, really, why is all this stuff excluded? So yeah, I think there are some places that we can look, but the good news is there's an entire framework that's already in place. So instead of stormwater ordinance, it might be stormwater amendment and some public education and perhaps some well, I do think we need to do some improvement of best practices, but that's maybe something we can discuss later.
Stormwater as one of the topics for a monthly library education piece, so that will happen next year if you're.
That doesn't, I don't think non-hydrologists find that as interesting as I do.
I don't know.
Actually
I-
think if you say, I'm gonna explain why you pay this fee, and people might show up because they wanna know. and-
There are enough basements flood, particularly.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Yes, but I think you should also give the tips about salt usage, and I mean, I think there's a lot of practical things that people.
Yes, those couple items earned a frosty response. That, yeah, talk with you off the record.
Gateway engineers, when they initialized that stormwater ordinance, they came and gave a presentation to the ESP. And they had a whole, PowerPoint.
Apparently, they just gave a presentation to the commission. Yeah. Like last month.
Fairly frequently from what I remember. Like, I think that's an annual.
The presentation about like what their progress has been, like since then.
That I don't know what was covered, but
Yeah, so
At
that,
least
that,
two of them.
that stormwater ordinance, at least, that was, I think that took effect several years ago. It's probably like 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, so the fee was 2011 and updated in 2018, and the stormwater management ordinance was 2018.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but they're specifically different entities and yeah, and there's some digging to do.
You're up, Tim.
Energy benchmarking. So I think one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I had just gotten this information like right before the last meeting. But I have talked a little bit with the Green Building Alliance just about, as I was kind of reaching out to connect and other groups to try to see like where there are resources that we could use to help with energy benchmarking. And obviously, like, I think the easiest way to do the benchmarking is to use Energy Star portfolio. But as far as like, who's doing that, who's trained and qualified to do it? I think the best option that I could find was possibly partnering with Pittsburgh's 2030 district as a municipality. And I kind of mentioned a little bit before this that it's not unprecedented. We would not be the first municipality to join that district. Forest Hills Borough, City of Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, City of Erie, and Erie County are all 2030 district partners, and supposedly Mount Lebanon School District is also. It's a $175 a year fee. And then you have to sign a 2030 district pledge form, which I have available and we can look at. And what we might gain from that is they can either come and teach a staff member of Mount Lebanon municipality or a board member how to go about doing the energy portfolio, or we can send them bills and they can have an intern on their own staff do it for us. And I think that would be included in that annual fee to join the district. So,
And Tim, none of that was done with Eric Grab and the.
So
and
Eric-
Connect?
Eric Robb did, so that they are also, he's the one who pointed me in this direction.
Okay,
So Eric Robin had been part of like some of the original greenhouse gas. What was the word used? Inventory. That we had done back when we started the climate action plan. We had used ICLEI, which
yeah,
is the software.
right, okay.
That software, I think was getting a little bit more cumbersome than just using Energy Star portfolio. Especially if we're just looking at kind of a municipal level, this would probably not cover private organizations because we wouldn't have access to their bills. But I think this is probably a good way to, at least if the goal is to just get a benchmark of what we're supposed to be doing, not necessarily establishing what our goals are. While there are goals in the 2030 district, having that support system from the Green Building Alliance would be great to have that. Just because they have a wealth of knowledge of documenting and benchmarking half the city of Pittsburgh already. So it's something that we can talk about and consider forward.
What would we need to do to make that happen?
We would need to sign a pledge and we would need to send Green Building Alliance a check every year for $175 to make that happen.
Is that a commitment for a certain number of years?
It is, I don't know that if there is like a minimum number of year commitment to get all these
Right.
cool services.
They're gonna do the send the bill thing and they do it, that is an amazing bargain. So,
$75.
Um. So, yeah, and there was a parentheses on here, it just says, and the reason I seek additional funding sources is that it takes a lot of staff to recruit critical mass in organized geographical or sector specific clusters. I couldn't tell necessarily if that was just part of his signature or if that was like a direct thing to me, so I'm gonna have to follow up on that, but as far as I know, the only number he actually listed was $175. And then Eric, Rob, and the Connect group also said, you know, if they would also be willing to provide assistance in the event that we can't have any of our staff trained. That they could basically join us and be part of our team to help us on anything. I know that Eric, Rob had already been trying to, he had started doing the process of benchmarking Mount Lebanon, and then just COVID hit. Everybody got tired and overburdened, so he had just mentioned that if we are willing to kind of start going down this route, he's definitely a resource, but the Green Building Alliance would be probably the best partner for that.
Is that something you think the municipality would?
Be an option, kind of jumping down into like climate action plan, I can mention that a little bit later, just with all the recommendations that from the comp plan. We can get into the full transition plan, then I'll get it right.
Yeah, I think mainly if we're trying to establish energy reduction goals, you have to know where you're starting, and that's the kind of the biggest thing. And then it establishes the framework for keeping track of that in the future.
To me, I would think we could take action on that short term. This is one of the things the group spent so long working on an updated climate action plan without a consultant. And worked with, you know, Connect and other groups that predated even us coming on the board. That was one thing that was routinely, you know, one of the biggest areas of impact for greenhouse gas reduction and carbon neutrality was understanding our energy portfolio and taking significant steps towards reducing it at a municipal level. So I would be all in favor of seeing the resolution, and, you know, I don't know how we have no budget as an ESB. I don't know how we go about asking for those funds. If Mindy were in the room, I'd ask her for $75. So
I can draft a proposal to send to the commissioners. And then just same way we have sent ordinance proposals to, you know, I'll just do another one for this.
I
And
wouldn't
I'll-
want this to get lost.
Yeah, I'll make sure that this gets, and I think I'm one of the people staying on after the transition too, so. And I will have another conversation just to clarify all of the details, make sure we understand like the time commitment, just all the things that we're committing to for this.
It'd be good to coordinate this with the climate resolution too, which the commission has. It has goals targeted at, I had them, some of them summarized in the transition plan, which, you know, talk about improvements in energy and giving a presentation on by 2025 on carbon emission. I mean, if we had this done before then, that would make that presentation a lot more meaningful.
Yeah.
And you know, Andrew drafted that resolution, so I'm sure he'd be supportive and hoping to coordinate with the commission on that, I would think.
Board transition plan a little bit?
Sure, yeah, obviously I already mentioned, you know, each kind of work plan leader looking at that, putting in next steps. I think the other kind of just main idea I wanted to point out was that it also includes next steps for the climate action plan. And then also the climate resolution, because that's something that was passed that has commitments in it. So I think those are two other important topics beyond the work plan that we have. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on those two things.
So actually, it kind of ties right into the next discussion item. So the climate action plan, if you take a look at our it actually covers a couple things. So Todd, let's just jump ahead to the comprehensive plan. That's live. The draft is live. It's open. I think it's open till like December 10th or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Go in, give your comments, submit all the comments. You can read through it. There is a extensive list. Look at it right now. There's an extensive list of recommendations for resiliency, and one of those is undertake a local climate action plan by 2030. That's most likely gonna happen before that time, but really it's that recommendations of talking about climate action and having a plan and things like that. So I think take a look at those recommendations if you like. Submit recommendations or comments that you have to kind of expand upon some of those things or maybe tweak some things. So I think in that board transition plan, it falls from what I read with the recommendations, it falls pretty in line with the climate action plan that's recommended by the comp plan. So many plans we have going on, so so the board transition plan is references the climate action plan, which references the comprehensive plan. So many tree branches of plans. So I think that kind of fits right in there, but that's one of the biggest things I think I have for the climate action plan item on the agenda.
Just to be clear on that, are you saying that the municipality like kind of has it on their list to finalize the climate action plan?
Yeah, it's a recommendation in the comp plan. That'll be something.
That's something the municipality has to follow
Absolutely,
through on.
by 2030, and I think there's a, talking about plans again, there's a what do you wanna call it, a plan for plans, that word is starting to bug me, but it's a plan for plans to really look at when do we update certain plans that we have. I would say a lot of them are, I would say, almost the big five is the comprehensive plan, parks, master and recreation study plan, the climate action plan, an transportation plan, and an uptown strategic plan. Those are like the five big ones. And they're kind of on a rotating schedule. If you think about it, every 10 years, I would say 13 to 23 to 33 is the comp plan. I think it was, I can't remember when the last parks plan, but the one in 22, so that would be 32. We do a climate action plan in which I think the best way of doing it is the way it's kind of forecasted is the climate action plan would come after the comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan would recommend stuff to be seen in that climate action plan. We would then execute it within that climate action plan. And then the next come around with the comprehensive plan, we mentioned more updated things. So
2 years of work went into the climate action plan to inform the comprehensive plan, not the other way around.
yeah, so I think it's more. That's why I think with the climate action plan, if it's done sort of in the middle of when the comprehensive plan takes place, you can have recommendations and things that were executed from the comprehensive plan. And then too many plans, from the comprehensive plan to then update the climate action plan and then almost recommend new things for the next comprehensive plan. So it's a never ending cycle. So, but all in all.
Because we're about 15 years out now from the last climate action plan, and that was undertaken. I think it was the 10 or 11 year update 3 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, it's 2012, it's the last one.
Okay.
So we're looking to almost have that on like again, a 10 year replacement for renewal or update. So, but all in all, the comp plan draft is live, talks about a lot of recommendations for climate action and climate action plans. So please feel free to go in there and submit comments. So, but that's pretty much my two topic discussions on comprehensive plan and the climate action plan. So.
On the certification for anyone?
Still chugging away at that one. I think it is, we're kind of eyeing it up to hopefully get it renewed for January of this upcoming year, just because of the time, and that's something that we can check off with the new comp plan, say that it's something that we've done and start off on a good step, saying that we've already completed a recommendation from the comp plan. We're getting ahead of things, so, but that's all I have for those standing items.
board transition plan, can you just remind me the dates again, like what we're looking at as far as?
When are we supposed to have that done?
So I would say it's right around this time is the. I know it's a hard deadline, it helps people out, but. I think by the end of. The end of this month will probably be best, but the thing is, like, we are working on stuff, so it almost kind of needs to be consistently updated.
Sure.
Obviously, the board becomes a new board, I think it's April 1st of 24. So I guess that's the final deadline, as to kind of put updates in, but I think to give the commission. I think to give the commission and then management a good direction. On where we are at and where we are going, like actionable steps, it's the end of this month. Just because when we get into the new, the new commission, because we have one new commissioner coming on, it would be best to kind of. Produce that document.
December.
There is a meeting scheduled, so.
At what point does this dissolve into the new board? Like when would our last meeting be? Up until April?
March, yeah, so
Okay.
March would be the second Thursday in March would be our last meeting, and then. We'll see what happens. I'm not entirely too sure on when the meetings are. I think they're switching to. Every. Commission, planning board, zoning hearing board, all the advisory boards will be on like a Tuesday, Wednesday basis. So I think like the commission is on the second and fourth Tuesdays, planning boards on the third Tuesday. I think all the advisory boards are gonna be on Wednesdays. Don't quote me on this. I just think that they said have them in the middle of the week. And if there is a holiday that falls on a Tuesday, they would just bump them to Wednesday and Thursday. Again, not entirely sure. But it's gonna be, I'm assuming the ESB or resiliency board, which will be the new one, will most likely be around that second week of, the second day.
We have 4 months.
It's basically, I think we have, so December, yeah, we have 4 more meetings, so.
Are these individuals going to be on the resiliency board or not?
Some, I think.
Some,
Couple.
but it's-
But this
You
will
have to
be,
reapply.
this will be closed and that will be opened and some people will transition and some won't. Interesting, okay.
For those of us who won't, are there seats open to apply to, or is it just?
I'm not entirely sure. I think there's a. Mindy sent out, I can re-forward it to the group, but the transition plan. That the commission has I guess it was I don't know if it was a resolution, but it was an official document that they produced. And they're, they have certain people who are on certain boards where their terms are up. And they have I think an idea of they're gonna reach out to people. Who are interested in reapplying, and I think some people are gonna say that I'm done, but I think the resiliency group is us Historic Preservation Board and the I think Economic Development Council. I think there's going to be 7 total. So there's 7 total board members, I think, in the new board, so. It's consolidation, so, but not entirely sure how the new members process works, so.
Cause you came in after me, so, and I was under the impression that I was transitioning to another board, so I would assume you would.
No, I came in on a 1-year thing.
Oh, you were.
Mhm.
I was
I
under
feel
the
like-
impression it was 2.
Yeah, just two of you.
Okay.
And I think there was some cutoff, it was like,
Don't worry, we'll visit.
you had to have been in this term for a certain amount of time. And less than a certain amount of time. If you were on your way out, they're kicking you out, if you were like. Far enough in, you kept going, but if you weren't far enough in.
I think the way they looked at that is to have people who are. Seasoned, but not seasoned enough, where it's like they understand what's going on in the boards, where they can take things and run with them.
Tim's as seasoned as you can get.
So, but it was analyzed throughout all boards and.
Yeah.
And again, I was not included in that process, so I don't know how they came to that conclusion, but. I don't think it was cover the eyes and just pick whoever. It was analyzed, so.
Yeah, that's why we're trying to make the transition plan very,
Seamless and clear.
yeah.
Yeah,
And also get as much done in the next 4 months that.
That is the plan.
So anything else? on this?
I got nothing. Please do the comp plan, or not please do, but please visit the comp plan and submit recommendations or comments that you have. As that is, we're again looking for as much feedback as possible, and there's a lot of recommendations. I think there's 60. No, I'm sorry, 130 total pages. So, but that includes everything. I can't remember, there was probably close to 30 or 40 just in the resiliency aspect. So there's a good amount.
Who's in charge of the resiliency board? Or like, who would I contact to find out if they want to still have a liaison to the school district?
So Eric Milliron and myself are going to be like co-staff liaisons to that new board. But I think as of right now, not entirely too sure. I would assume it would be Ian McMeans, our assistant manager, who's kind of managing that whole process. But I think that would be the person to contact, but I will.
Well, I'm not gonna do it right away. I was just curious.
But you might wanna know that.
We're restructuring, yeah.
Under new business, I've already talked about coordination with Levo Green. It's really just around these like educational pieces of the library. But they're also kind of, taking a fresh look at what they're doing and trying to figure out ways that they can be, I think the term was like more actionable, like do more concrete things. So, and they're very interested in partnering with the ESB and any other groups that are doing things. So just keep that in mind as, things come up and we need assistance. They have doers, people that want to like take a tack and go with it. And as far as even the educational pieces, I had talked to Shayna about like if we have, for example, one ESB member leading, kind of organizing these educational topics, they would also have a Levo Green member that could kind of help too. So there'd be two people, and hopefully that would help to really get it done. And then the Sustainable House series, I didn't put on here, but I am curious on how we can, I feel like that's kind of also what we've been talking about. Can we mesh these two ideas?
So it's a good transition there. Transition plans. I've been mentioning all these fun words tonight. So the Historic Preservation Board actually is their, I don't want to say this is their project that they're doing. It's a 3-part series. I can forward it. I just received, I think it was Tuesday morning, the agenda that they have planned, and our own Mike Gullo will be presenting there. And it's a 3-night speaker series where I think they have 3 speakers per night. It's I think in February and then early March, and it's at the library. And I think the first night they all have kind of ideas and themes for the night, and then I think Mike is on the 3rd night. He's going to talk about how you can. I coined the term homeowner hack, which I liked, but I didn't go with that one. So I thought the homeowner hacks was cool because it's about reusing gray water and how you can save on, electricity usage and things like that. So, but that'll be taking place in February and then March. But I can send that agenda out. You can kind of look at what the speakers are about. I know one of the firefighters from the department, he's going to talk about, home safety and things like that, and how some older homes may pose different, I don't want to say challenges, but certain things that you may have to overcome as a homeowner compared to newer homes. So it's going to be interesting. And I think that's something that the Historic Preservation Board is putting on that we can then not outsource, but I should say broadcast to the PTA and the Levo Green and things like that, and we can build that partnership. So, but Mike, if you want to talk about what you're going to discuss, if you have any ideas, I know
Alan, I think is his name.
Alan, yeah.
Yeah, and he and I went back and forth about the topics were really broad, and I only have a half an hour to speak, so we narrowed it down to I'm going to present on how to conduct a small scale energy audit on a residential home, which then will lead to simple, affordable ideas and solutions that homeowners can implement for underneath $100 per idea. So that's what I'll be talking about. more focused and, you know, because originally we wanted to go with all the home hacks that we talked about, like the water and the recycling, but I can't really dive into that detail in 30 minutes with spreading myself too thin. So that's what we're going with. Kind of worked out with the theme. I don't know if you read
Yeah, I was looking at it.
it's all interconnected. So I think it's pretty cool that our presentations for that day are gonna sort of build off each other.
Dr. Gallo, maybe you could follow up to the people that go there and give them, you know, everything in a take home or.
Yeah.
You know, some kind of little, electronic version of all your other ideas.
Yes, I will have to put a plug in for that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say you could reference your YouTube page.
yes,
oh yeah, perfect.
yeah,
But like the first one on Tuesday, February 20th is evaluating your home, so it's needs and usage, inspection of the home and safety. The. Same intent. And then the second night is exterior opportunities, which is there's solar panels and landscaping. And then the third one is looking inward, which is towards a more sustainable interior, energy audits by Mike. I think actually that's just two that. Originally, I think they were, when we started this discussion, they were just having 3 nights for 3 speakers, so I was letting Mike know that he may have an hour and a half to talk about, so. But luckily, they were able to find more and diversify their speakers, so. I think it'll be interesting, it'll be, hopefully I'm available for that one, because it'll teach me some stuff so I can save some money at my house, so. Yep. Other than that, that'll be in late February and then March.
Any other new business? Okay. That's it, I think.
That's the wrap.
Adjourn.
Second.
Motion second.
Great.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
yeah.
Even my teenagers like to shower. On the other hand, I like to shower a little less.
Oh, yeah.
I'm ready to install a shower outside of the bathroom that I can just crank up. My husband is like.
Okay, here's.